All right, so can you see the screen now? Okay, fine. So before we left, we looked at the agile behavior concept and techniques. So now we want to look at the Prince2 Agile view. That is how Prince2 looked at Agile based on the Agile methodology, Agile manifesto, and looking at Agile from the point of view of projects. Remember, Prince2 Agile is Agile way of work as relates to project management, not Agile way of work as relate to business as usual. So Prince2 regards Agile as a family of behaviors, concept, techniques, and framework. And what are the behaviors? We've mentioned it before. Can you remember one of the behavior? Collaboration. Can you see? Collaboration. Self-organizing. Self-organizing means it is um, it consists of a team that has to a large extent a level of freedom to do some things without having to always get approval at every point in time. So it's self-organizing. It is focused on customer. There is a culture of trust. Look at it, not blaming. When people make mistake, they are not blamed. Rather, they are helped to understand how better to do it next time. So that is part of the behavior of Agile. So when we're talking about Prince2 Agile, we are talking about collection of these behaviors, which are examples of this. The concepts, what are concepts? Concept of prioritization, working iteratively, not delivering everything every time, not delivering every time, everything. Time focused, inspecting and adapting, that is making changes when required. Continual improvement, that is called Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese word for continual improvement. And limiting work in progress, doing more than what you can do within a time box. Those are concepts. And the techniques are Bunch charts, user stories, retrospective, time boxing, and measuring flow. So Prince2 Agile is a family of behaviors which you have looked at, concepts, frameworks, and techniques. So we'll look at what are these in detail. The Prince2 Agile blends with Prince2 itself. So the Prince2 Agile blend Prince2, which is one of the foremost project management implementation framework. In a project that is managed by Prince2, we always have these three levels. What are the three levels? The level one in Prince2 is the level of direction. You can see project direction. That's the first level. Okay? Project direction. Level two is project management. Level three is product delivery, or what you call product delivery. Now in Prince 2, only these two are part of project management and project direction. The Prince 2 itself does not look at the people, the team that delivers the project, that do the actual work. Rather, they look at the project manager who is managing the work and the people who are directing the projects. So, Prince 2 itself is more around project direction and project management. Whereas for Agile, it is more about the delivery of the product. Each one has its own strengths. Each of these, that is the Prince2 and Prince2 Agile, each one has its own strengths. And also, who it is it for? who is the project for? When and where should the project be used? That determines whether to use a Prince2 alone or to blend it with Prince2 Agile. So the best idea is blending. When you blend the Prince2 and the Prince2 Agile, you will get a better results. And if you look at it from here, the Prince2 is about thinking which cascade down. That is, the project direction or project directors or people who direct the project, they are the one that relates with project manager, hand over to project manager instructions, what he should do, provide him the time he should do it. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, that is a wrong one then. Uh, this one. Okay, let me see. Okay, can you see this now? Okay, all right. So Prince2 Agile blending Prince2 and Agile together, and of course you have project management and project direction. Those are the two that we talk about under Prince2. That is, Prince2 is concerned about the project manager and the people who are directing the project. We will talk about the people directing the projects. The people directing the projects are senior user, senior supplier, as well as the executive, like a project director. Then we now have the second level, which is the project manager, the one that directly manage the projects. So those are the two concern of Prince2. The Prince2 Agile now take it to the next level, to the third level, which is the product delivery. Product delivery, where the product is being made, being created. And then you have the level of the manager who manages the project. They are being called by different name. In Agile, we don't usually call it a project manager. Sometimes they call it a scrum master. Sometimes they can use product owner. So it's a different nomenclature. Okay. So in project management that is Agile, most of the time they don't talk about project manager. They talk about scrum master or they talk about product owner. So the product delivery is part of Agile. So consider the blend of Prince2 and Prince2 Agile in the course of this training. Okay, what does Prince2 Agile comprises of? Remember we said it's a collection of behaviors, collection of frameworks, concepts, techniques, and of course, it focuses more on user, giving value to users. As far as Prince2 is concerned, Prince2 majorly talk about the project environment in terms of one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and then project processes, then the project teams and project principles. All of these can also be aligned with Agile. So what Agile has done is just to build on top of the Prince2 primary methodology by adding the Agile framework, Agile behavior, Agile concepts, Agile techniques, and Agile focus areas. Those five things. All right, so what are the guidance points? The 8 guidance points. What are the 8 points that are important for project management according to Prince2 Agile? Key points. What are the guidance? The guidance here are recommendations. What are the recommendations that should guide an organization that want to use the Prince2 Agile methodology? First one is to know that the Prince2, which is the edition of 2009, is already enabled to use for use with Agile. There are different editions of Prince2. There's Prince2 29, there's Prince2 2000 and 2011. There's a Prince2 of 2000 and I think 17 now as well. Yeah, there is, yes, 2017. So as far back as 2009 version, you can use Agile along with Prince2. Prince2 is suitable for any style of projects, and it is not traditional project management approach, and it is typically constructed to Agile. So, like I said, it is not all projects that can be delivered by Agile, but as far as Prince2 is concerned, it is suitable for any style of projects. And Prince2 is not really traditional in the sense that it doesn't really use waterfall approach. It also uses a blend of Agile because as our 2009 edition of Prince2, we used to have what they call a quality gates, which is like a milestone, which is a way by which organization can evaluate whether their project is worth continuing or they should just close it. Prince2 Agile is for any projects and not just for IT projects. That's very important. Prince2 Agile is not only for IT projects. These guiding principles are part of things that are asked in the exam. Prince2 Agile is not only for IT projects. So this course is not only to make you IT project manager or a project manager that's only looking at IT projects. No, you can manage non-IT projects. You can manage projects in healthcare, projects in, you know, constructions and other aspects. IT only framework and techniques are mentioned in Prince2, but not extensively. So we will talk about the framework and techniques which are used in IT, but that does not make Prince2 Agile only useful within IT projects. There's much more to Agile than Scrum framework. Remember we said Scrum is one of the approach of Agile. It is not the only one. Okay, both Scrum and Kanban, they are common, but they're not the only one. Okay, and they are not suitable for managing projects in isolation. So we will always use them in a project context. The term agile in this course refers to family of behavior, concepts, frameworks, and techniques. That's just what this course is all about. Understanding the kind of behavior in terms of collaboration, in terms of a behavior that does not blame people, that does not, you know, point accusing figure to people, that does not single out an individual in a team. Because when you single out an individual in a team to blame for a particular work, that individual will not support others to also succeed. And if there's no collaboration, then it is not agile. That is not an agile behavior. Agile behavior is collaborative. It's not everybody on their own. Do your own, I do my own. That is not agile. Do my part, I do your part. Don't come and know what I'm doing. I won't show you what I'm doing. I will not ask you what you are doing. Everybody should just do their own and then do it and deliver results. Don't ask for help. If you need any help, go outside. That is not a behavior in Agile. So we look at Agile behavior, which is collaboration, not blaming people. Even when you are looking at what worked, what did not work, you should do what is called blameless post-mortem. Blameless means you want to identify what happened. Why did it happen? You are not interested in pointing accusing finger to the person or condemning the person who carried out the activity. And then concept too. We've talked about the concept that deals with making sure that you do things in iterative way, concept of time boxing, making sure you keep everything within the time, you know, those are concept of continual improvement, Kaizen. Those are concepts in Agile. We also look at the framework. We will talk about Scrum framework. We'll talk about the use of Kanban and some other type of framework. And then the techniques or the tools being used. Like I mentioned, the Bond charts, something that can show you how far away you are from the project objective. How far are you from achieving the targets based on the time? That is techniques. We look at different techniques. Using Agile on a project is not a question of yes or no. That is, projects should use Agile. The question should be how much of Agile should you use in a project? How much of Agile should you use in a project? Remember, Agile started with software development. Yes, but as far as Prince2 Agile is concerned, it goes beyond software. You can also use it in any other non-IT projects. Okay, one thing we should be aware of, beware of prejudice. Control and governance is important and it allows Agile to be used in a complex environment. Some people believe that Agile cannot work in a complex environment because Agile is meant to allow people to explore. Agile allows people to experiment, but the experimentation is for them to fail safe. There's something called fail safe. That is to experiment with small things, with things that will not really affect, the entire system or the entire organization. So Agile can be used in a complex environment by putting in place a control and governance. What is governance? Governance is a means by which organization directs and control the activities of people. So once you put control and governance in place, yes, you can still use Agile. For example, once you put a limitation to say, okay, you can experiment, but make sure the experimentation does not cost you more than $100. At least you can still experiment, but there is a limit to how much the experimentation should cost. Okay, next one, the Prince2 journey with Agile. Our Prince2, okay, your network. Okay, Prince2 journey with Agile. Prince2 look at Agile from the point of view of what exists, which is their own framework. And remember again, Prince2 Agile is about using Agile for project management. Agile can be used for business as usual. But for Prince2 Agile, we are only talking about using it in a project context and that it is not only for IT projects. So please take a note typically and a way, not the way. Okay? So what the Prince2 provides you is the ways by which you can do things, not the only way you can do it. Also, part of the key things we talk about under Prince2 is tailoring. What do you mean by tailoring? Tailoring means you should apply the knowledge you gain in the course while learning Prince2. You should appropriate it to your own organization. You should tailor it to your own environment. All environments are not the same. What it means is that the way Prince2 is being applied in manufacturing industry is not the same way in financial industry. It's not the same way in construction industry. or health and care. So ITIL is being tailored depending on the project context, and that tailoring can affect the level of formality and also where the emphasis is being placed. A typical example of tailoring is some of the nomenclatures. Nomenclature means some of the names that are used may not be exactly the same name that organization use, but the activities are similar. That is tailoring. You don't necessarily have to use the same nomenclature. So as far as Prince 2 is concerned, there are at least the following stages. Pre-project stage. Before a project is started, you need to carry out some activities. Activities like, for example, people will say do a feasibility study before you even start the project. Try to see, can we even afford this project? Will this project benefit us? Can we look at those who have done the project in our industry? Did they get any benefits? That is pre-project. Then once you can define your project's product, you know what you want to achieve, you have checked out people who have implemented in the past, who are in the similar industry or in the same industry, and you have seen that they're able to get value from the project has helped them to reduce costs or help them to make more, increase income, and then there's a go ahead to carry on the project. Then the first stage of the project starts. So the first stage of project, according to Prince 2 and Prince 2 Agile, is initiation stage. Initiation stage. At this initiation stage, what you are doing is you are initiating a project. You are setting up teams, people that will be part of the project. Then after that, you can have what is called subsequent delivery stages. So in Prince 2, there are two major stages that are required. Minimum of two stages. And what are the stages? First stage is called initiation stage. Remember, this is a pre-project phase stage. As far as project stages, project starts from initiation and what is called subsequent stages. If you have only one stage after initiation, then you are going to have only two stages. If you are going to have four stages, now stages here are like what you call sprints. For example, I want to build a high rise. I want to build 20-story building in a particular location. Then what do I do? I have to go and do pre-project. What is pre-project phase? Is government going to approve such building? Is the soil, you know, of that particular environment able to take 20? Is it allowed? Will I be able to rent out the 20? Does it make business sense to go ahead? Those are things that are done under pre-projects. If the project phase has been completed and it's called, okay, government can give approval, government is even encouraging people to come and do high-rise building. You don't need to do high-rise building only for the purpose of renting out to company. You can do it for the purpose of, renting out to people that need accommodation. So you can do 20 story and that the land is good. The topology of the land can take 20. So that's a pre-project phase. After, and some people call it feasibility study. Some call it feasibility study. After feasibility study is not yet part of a project. It is a pre-project phase. Project starts when it is agreed that, okay, feasibility study looks good. Let us initiate the project. Start by appointing people. These people are the project director, people that will direct the project. And this person is the project manager. And then you have the product delivery, the people that will carry out the work. So in the case of a building, you can have the architect as part of the people who are directing the projects. You can have the structural engineer as part of who are directing the project. Then you need to have a project manager. Then the agency that will help you get people to rent it out. They can also be part of people directing the project. That's why we have what they call senior user, we have senior supplier, and we also have the executive. Then under that, you now have the project manager. Then under the project manager, you now have the people that will deliver the work, like the construction people, the builders, electrical people, mechanical people, and all that, mechanical engineers. Then when you set up the people that will do the work, each of them must submit their plan, what they plan to do. They must submit it. What do you plan to achieve? You know what we want. What can you deliver? After that, then you have the delivery stage where they have to deliver. They have to create, build the house, or create the website or the software as may be required. If you need the 20 story delivered based on 2 story or 5 story, so you can call a stage. Say the first stage is 5 story building. Deliver 5 story in 1 year. After 5 story, then we go another 5 story. Then we go another 5 story. That means each 5 story is a stage. Then if you don't want it in piecemeal, you want them to use technology where they are just assembling everything together. They are not really creating block work. They just come with a concrete, you know, and then they just hook different concretes together, concrete floors together to make, you know, a story building. They cover it again like that. They don't need to do decking the way you do a decking for, you know, a property of just 2 story building or 3 story building. So you can decide to say, I want all the 20 delivered. So that means you have only one delivery stage if they must deliver all the 20 at a go. But if you are breaking it down, deliver five, then next five, then next five, then you have those called delivery stages. And of course, you can have the very final stage if you have it in subsets, or you have only, so you can have initiation stage and one delivery stage minimum. You can have multiple as well. Okay, now let's recap as far as Prince 2 is concerned. Prince 2 itself is called projects in control environments. So the project methodology is made up of processes, teams, and principles. The processes, the teams, the principles. And these are the things we must talk about. We must talk about business case, organization, quality, plan, risk, change, and progress. And we also talk about the principles as well, and then the teams. Okay, when you look at the hexagon, what is hexagon? Hexagon is just a six-sided. Fundamental to Prince2 Agile is to look at Prince2 Agile from 6 aspects of project performance. That is, when you want to define something as a Prince2 Agile, then you must look at the costs of the project, the risk involved, the scope, the quality, the benefits, and time. There is a short form I normally give people, I think it's cost B. Costs, okay, which is then benefit is there. S is scope, cost B, RT, something like that. So cost B, cost, that is cost itself. You have the benefits, you have scope, you have risk. So there should be one of the best things is to look for acronym that can help you remember this. And one that I can think of is cost BR, I use C as costs, okay, and then the B there is benefits, and the R is for risk, and the S is for scope, okay, cost BQR, cost BQR. So if you look at cost BQR, costs is C is for cost, okay, and then the X is for scope, and then you have the B for benefits, the R for risk, and Q for quality. So these six aspects is also part of the significant change to Prince 2 with edition of 2009. Many people define projects as something that has three triangles. They will say cost, time, and probably scope. That's how they define projects. However, as far as Prince 2 is concerned and Prince 2 Agile, you look at project from six different aspects in terms of performance. How can you say a project is successful? How can you say a project has performed to the expectation? It will be based on the six different aspects, which are cost, scope, benefits, risk, quality, and time. Okay, now these six, because we call it hexagon, hexagon means six. You see them: cost, risk, scope, quality, benefits. We need to know which of these six must not change, which one can change. For example, every project must have a fixed time. That means a fixed time for completion. Every project must be completed based on the agreed costs. So this is supposed to be fixed. You are not supposed to what? Flex it. Don't flex it means don't try to deviate from the allowed time and the appropriated costs. Don't flex it. Benefits and risk, you can fix and flex that. You may flex the benefits, you may flex the risk. Why you may flex this is, for example, all the benefit may not be in the first shippable product. All the benefit may not come in the minimum viable product. It may be in the incremental. That's why we said you may flex the benefits. The risk may also be flex. Then the one you just have to flex, that is the one you need to try to change, is the quality and the scope. Remember, when you talk about quality, one of the best way to flex your quality is by making sure that customer use Moscow. Do you remember Moscow? What is the M? What does it stand for in Moscow? What does M stands for in Moscow? Must have. Okay. What's the next one in Moscow? Should have. What's the next one in Moscow? No. Remember. Let's go the way Moscow is spelled. The way we spell Moscow is M for must have, should have, could could have, yes, could have. Then the fourth one, no, wouldn't have for now. You have to complete it. Not would not have, wouldn't have for now, wouldn't have for now. So that way you can flex your quality. So with that, you can flex the scope. For example, if the scope is to construct 20-story building in 5 cities, that's the scope. You can, because of time and the cost, you can flex it. You can make it 20 in only 3 cities. That's the scope. The scope is reduced. So you can flex the scope. So very important for the purpose of exam is to understand what can be flexed, what may be flexed out of the 6 elements of project management performance, and what is it that you should not flex: time and costs. The other four, you may flex them. The one you should first look at to flex is the quality, the scope. And you cannot flex the quality if you don't know the quality criteria in terms of priority. And to know the priority, you can use Moscow approach. Two things that cannot be flexed is the costs and the time. Can you see my screen? The costs and the time. Every project should be completed. We mentioned the word time boxing. Time boxing is key. You must have a start and end time, start and end dates. That should not flex. Then the amount that has been appropriated, the cost amount appropriated for the project should not change. It should not change. Now, because we said it should not change, later we will still talk about um, something that is called, I want to remember the right word now, where uh, you can allow for a variation. For example, you can say plus and minus, deliver this in 1 month, plus or minus 1 week. What does that mean? It means you can deliver it 1 week before the 1 month or 1 week after. Exactly. That is still, so you cannot flex that. You cannot now deliver it 2 weeks after. No. If there is a cost for a project, every project will have a cost. There will also be something called, I'll remember the right word later, where you allow for plus or minus maybe 10%. That means, let's say the project is going to be $1 million, and you say, okay, I will make available 1 million plus or minus 10%. What that means is that they can still spend up to 1,100,000. Why? Because you have provided a plus 10 for them. When we say don't flex, it means don't go beyond what you are given as the variation. But you can vary your benefits, your risk, quality, as well as scope. Okay? Okay, what are the tolerance? Exactly. That's what I was looking for. Tolerance. When you are given a project, there should be tolerance. All the aspects of projects, remember there are 6 of them. One of the best way to remember it, please, so that you don't forget, I'll give you, I said cos B Q T. That's what I use. Cos B Q3. C is for cost. I use my S for scope. I use B for benefit, Q for quality, T for time. So it is cos B QRT. Yeah, cos B QRT. That may help you to remember all the 6. Cos is COB. The O, you don't use it. So cos B QRT. So that should help you to remember all the 6. When you look at all these 6 aspects, there should be a tolerance. What is a tolerance? Tolerance is what is allowed as extra. Now, as far as time is concerned, there should be zero tolerance for extra time on all the levels of plan. What that means is that there must be a fixed time, and the fixed time will have to be followed. The fixed time can be 1 year plus or minus 1 quarter or 3 months. Don't go beyond it. In terms of costs, zero tolerance for extra costs on all levels of the plan. Fixed. In terms of quality, you can fix and flex it. That is, not all the acceptance criteria and quality are of equal importance. So you can do what? Prioritize them. And based on the priority, you know which one you should deliver, which one is not so essential. Scope. Scope can also be fixed and flex. That is, not everything the project aims to create has equal importance. So the scope should also be fixed and flex. You need to know which products are essential, which one are the must have. For those must have, there is zero tolerance. Any product that is a must have, zero tolerance, because it must be there. For example, building a house and putting thunder arrestor in a high rise is a must have. There's no zero tolerance for that. You must have the, you know, you must put thunder arrestor. You must put a thunder arrestor or arrestor in a high rise building. Then for those things that are desirable but not essential, you can tolerate those ones. You can have a tolerance that you can use for those ones. Risk tolerance to be defined to the needs of the projects. Every tolerance should depend on specific situation. That you can also fix and flex. Risk is in terms of the threats and the opportunities. In terms of what could go wrong, what can you allow? Can you allow, for example, if you are doing a business that is a foreign business, are you able to accept fluctuation of the exchange rates? That's a risk. If your currency is not the currency in which you will import a good, then you know that you have a risk which is about currency fluctuation, exchange rates. So that kind of a risk, you can flex and fix it. How can you flex and fix it? You can see which one can you buy locally, which one must you really buy, you know, in foreign currency. Then in terms of benefits, benefits can also be fixed and flex. You need to only have zero tolerance for the level that is defined as minimum viability, the must have, which are the futures, the benefit that are must have benefits. For example, in some properties, when you build a house, some people will mandate that there must be two entrances, one entry, one exit. Not that there should be only a single door. There should be a back door from the kitchen. There should be a front door from the main house. That in a particular project may be a minimum viable. In another project, another person who is building a house may not consider it as priority. So we must always vary it based on, so you can fix that and flex it. Okay, what are the 5 targets? One, we must know that it is essential to understand why you are doing a particular thing. Why is always the first thing. Why are we carrying out a project? The five targets represents what forms the rationale behind the hexagon. Anytime we talk about hexagon, we are talking about what? The six aspects of project management performance. The six aspects of project management performance. I call it COSB QRT. You can also find another acronym for it yourself. You can call it T COSB QR. You can find a way to just put all the six together. So, what are the why? One, be on time and hit deadline. That is why we said you should not flex your time. Be on time and hit deadlines. Do the project, carry it out on time, hit the deadline you are given. Protect the level of quality. Whatever quality is agreed, especially in terms of priority, protect it. Number three, you must embrace change. That's important. Embrace change. That is why we said you can vary the what? You can vary the benefits. You can vary, flex the benefits. Okay? You can flex the quality. You can embrace change. For example, something that was considered of high priority initially, maybe 2 months after the project, what you have not done, that is the stage you have not reached, is now not being considered of priority again. That's a change. You must be able to embrace it. You must keep your team stable. It is not good to have changing team. You remember that project is something that has a time. So it is not good to put people on a project and then take them out, bring new people to the project. It will increase the learning curve. New people will have to take time to learn. So projects, one of the reasons why projects fail is instability. Unstable team members can cause a project to fail. The next one, accept that the customer does not need everything. That's important. And that is what will help us to what? Flex and fix our benefits. Customer does not need everything. For example, you and I, we are customer to mobile phones, right? How many of the features on Android do you use? How many of the features do you use? Exactly. How many of them do you use? How many people uses multiple cameras? Exactly. How many people use the back cameras? Or let's say the front cameras. Maybe the back camera to snap picture. How many do selfie with their phone? That is a component that is not everybody. So customer does not need everything that they claim they need. And that is why a project manager can help a customer to really understand the the pros and cons of what they say they want that they may not need. A project manager does not just accept everything they say they need. No, a project manager will have to ask questions. Why do you need it? What is it going to do for you? How does it help you? So that if it is not highly necessary, you don't need to have it. Okay, so we look at these five targets. The first one is be on time and hit targets. Very important. Why should you be on time and hit targets? When you be on time and hit targets, it helps to realize benefits early. It also helps with the planning. Organization can plan. It also gives confidence in the ability of the project team to deliver. And you must hit targets on time, beat the deadline, because there may be no choice, and also reduce the likelihood of cost overrun, because many projects, they the cost of the project becomes more than what is planned for because the time has increased, because many projects uses what is called time and material. Time and material. So many projects are built based on time, how long it takes, and the material to do it. So be on time. If you are not on time, it's likely to make the costs to be more expensive than what was planned before. For example, there's some projects where people are being housed, people are given accommodation. So if they are given accommodation for 10 days and the project is now extending by additional 5 days, what has happened? The cost of the accommodation, they are going to pay for them, the welfare, the even if the amount they will pay them will not increase. But there are other, you know, costs that are not directly going to the project team members that will be affected. And that is why it's good to be on time and to hit deadline. Why should you protect the level of quality? Damaging effects will result if you don't protect the level of quality from reduced texting. You must make sure you text appropriately. Part of quality is documentation. There must be a complete documentation. If the documentation is not complete, it will bring a damaging effects. What is a documentation? A documentation is like a guide how to use a particular application if it's a software, how to use a particular facility, how to operate. Let us say, for example, you know an organization decide to engage project manager, and then they develop, or let's say they build a particular complex, and there is a sewage, a lot of things there, and the documentation of how to operate many of those things are not provided. Let's say central cooling. If you are using central cooling, how do you operate the central cooling? If the cooling stop, what do you need to do? If the step are not documented very well, it will affect the quality. Also, the design must be optimal. There must be a good design, and that's where the likes of architect comes when you're talking about building a house. They are the one that design the building. So if a house is built without a design, then there will be it will be a low quality building, a low quality software, a low quality output will come from whatever does not have a good design. Lack of appropriate training. People need to be trained on how to use a solution, a software, or whatever project has been delivered. There are some organizations that will engage external people to come and carry out a project for them, and they will not insist on knowledge transfer. That is one of the ways by which quality will be affected, because people are not well trained. People are not trained appropriately. Then non-compliance to standard. There are some organizations that they don't even consider any standard when they are told that, okay, for you to be able to put three buildings on top of each other, the thickness of the rod you are going to use is this particular size. And they say, no, 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 no. Can't we use a smaller one? The standard for the weight of the building is this. Then you can get someone to ask the question. If we use a lower one, will it still work? And the person say, yes, it will work. Then they go for the lower one. That means they are not complying with standards. So each time a project manager agrees to non-compliance of standard, such project manager is not protecting the level of quality of the projects. You must comply to standards. Standards are created so as to ensure that quality is maintained. Embrace change. Why should you embrace change? Because change is inevitable. I mean, everybody knows that change is inevitable. You have to embrace change. The only thing you need to avoid as much as possible is constant change of the team members. As long as the project requires an incremental work that is similar to the one that has been done before, bringing new person will always cost you more time to complete the task. But apart from frequently changing people, other aspects of change, like change in the particular future, substituting one future for the other, taking one option as against the other option, those changes are inevitable and must be accepted. A more accurate final product is more likely. That's why you should embrace a change. Organization can change their direction by the mid-year, by the middle of the year. For example, currently in the world, you have Ukraine or Russia, invading Ukraine, and organization who is exporting or who wants to import goods or export goods to both countries, definitely they need to embrace change. They need to look for somewhere else to buy it. So change can be handled by flexing what is delivered. Flexing what is delivered. That is coming up with variation of what is delivered based on what is available. You should be able to embrace change. Keep your team stable is one of the important aspects of improving the performance of all the six aspects or six key aspects of Agile, Prince2 Agile project management performance. Keeping the team stable. Why should you keep the team stable? Because changing your team members can affect a lot of things. The time you spent in bringing the new member up to speed, the number of communication line will grow, opportunity costs incur in the areas that the new person is coming to do. All those things are things that affect unstable team. The team dynamics can change and needs to be reestablished. Anytime you bring in a new person to a team may had its own benefits, but it is possible, highly possible, that at the very beginning the person may not find his feet and you may definitely lose time. So the team should be stable as much as possible. Accept what the customer doesn't need everything. That's the truth. Customer does not need everything. That is one of the key things to know. We have talked about the elements. Under these elements, what are the five things to consider? And that's what we are considering. This is the fifth one. Accept that customer does not need everything. Why? Usually, not everything defined at the start must be delivered. At the start, the customer can feel, wow, I need this, I need that, I need these features in the building. My website should have this, should have that. As the project continues, maybe due to inflation, due to you know the change of direction of the company, maybe the company is being merged with another company or being bought over, they may not also need it. So it is the safest area to compromise on, which is the area of the scope, because you need to let customer know that they don't need everything. So you need to narrow down what they need so you can hit your deadline and also protect the level of quality. Deliver what the customer really wants and deliver it quickly. Deliver what the customer wants and deliver it quickly. But you need to walk the customer through all of the features they require to be sure you identify what they need and what they do not need. And like I mentioned, you can also use Moscow for that. Moscow. You can use Moscow for that to really know, is this a must have? Is it a should have? Is it something you would like to have, you know, later? Wouldn't have for now. Then you know which one to prioritize. So if you have time, for example, after you have taken care of the must have and the should have, then you can go to the next one, which is could have. in order to beat the deadline. All right, the last part today, the appropriate balance. What do you mean by the appropriate balance? We need to consider if the customer gets more of what was wanted. Changes include the right level of quality and the fact that it is delivered on time. That is on one side. On the other side of the weight, you look at the customer getting everything they ask for, but will something be missing or mixed if they don't have it? So we need to have an holistic view. What do you mean by holistic view? You need to understand the customer, the business the customer is doing, the customer's customer also. So you can help the customer to know what level of balance they want. Do they want everything they have requested for? Is there anything out of those things they requested for that they don't mind mixing it? Or the customer prefer to have the must have, and then the delivery on time is important to them. They want to have it delivered on time. So that is appropriate level of balance that must exist. I can finally use this example of, again, Nokia. If you look at Nokia, let's assume Nokia was planning to have everything the customer is the customer is requesting for in a smartphone. They want to put two cameras at the back. They want to allow that all the fingers can work. And because of that, they did not come out early. Nokia phone did not release smartphone early. And that makes them to lose what? To lose their position as far as you know making a phone or phone manufacturing is concerned. So it's always good to ask your customer this question when you want to you know help them to narrow down to what the futures that should exist. Try to understand from their end what the appropriate balance is. And this can only happen when you also have an holistic view of what they want, but you let them know what is the most important that you can deliver on time. Any question based on what we've learned? Remember, we've talked about this before. Okay, so we'll end here. Moscow must have, should have, could have, would not have for now. So you need to ask customers what make a must a must. Okay, these are the things you call must have. Why is it a must? What makes a should have? What make a could have? And this will help you to prioritize so as to work within the costs available and deliver within the time that is provided as the time for delivery. Any question?